I'm going to talk to you today about leather, the different types of leather that are available, and hopefully give you enough information to at least get you started on your own leather adventure with quilting. I want to start with talking about tooling leather. This is the leather that's used for tooling belts, handbags, shoes, saddles, all kinds of stuff. And it comes in different thicknesses. You see how thick this is. This one is a little bit thinner. And this one's even thinner. Now, you could quilt through this, but the problem is it's not pliable enough for the stitching to be able to generate that texture with quilting. And I think that with us as artists, when we want to actually add quilting to leather, the whole purpose of that is to be able to show off our quilting, to show off our stitches, and to show off that texture that we can generate. In order to do that, you're going to have something that's a little bit more pliable than tooling leather is. The next grade down from that is that you can get upholstery grade leather. Now, upholstery grade leather is great. It's a little bit thinner, but however, some of it is still quite durable. And so, of course, it is upholstery grade, so you want it to be. And so that's not going to show up as well. Your quilting's not going to show up as well on it as it will on some of the other thinner leathers. Now, that's not to say you can't use upholstery grade leather, because this leather right here, this silver, is actually the silver leather that I used on my Oscar, the dragon quilt. The silver that's on that quilt is actually this upholstery grade leather. So you can use upholstery grade. What I recommend there is to really just get a hold of it, feel of it, to see if it's pliable enough to be able to do what it is that you want it to do. Next, there's what's called designer grade. Now, designer grade leathers are going to be the leathers that the designers use for purses, handbags, that sort of thing. And so, again, these are going to have to be very durable. These are going to be very, the colors are going to be very consistent in them, but they're also going to be thicker. And so you can use these, but again, it's not going to give you the exact stitch definition and show off the quilting texture as well as some of the other thinner garment grade leathers will be. And the next grade is the garment grade. And as you can tell how thin this garment grade leather is. And so this is what it is that you want to do. You quilt up this, and it's going to quilt up just like any satin, any silk will that you have, any cotton that you will, and it'll be beautiful showing off your stitches. And last but not least, you also have the option of using deer hides. Deer hides too quilt up beautifully, but it's going to give you a lot different feel from the finished piece because of the characteristics of the hide itself. Now, when you're going out purchasing hides, the hide is going to be sold in what's called weight. Okay, and the weight is what determines the thickness, and I'm going to use this tooled leather to show you that. And so you'll have an ounce count on all the hides that you'll see, whereas this ounce count with the thickest one here is going to be about 10 to 11 ounces, and the thinner one is going to be like 2 to 3 ounces. And so what you want to do with this garment grade right here is usually this is about 1.5 to 2 inches here, of 2 ounces here. So what you want to do is that when you're out looking for leather to be able to quilt, to show off your quilting, you want to stay below 3 ounces or less. If you go with 3, sometimes you can go to 3.2 if the leather is really soft and pliable. But as long as you stay to 3 ounces or less, you're going to be fine. Okay. Now, also, when you're going out purchasing leather, there's different sizes depending on what critter you're buying it off of. A lamb hide is going to be a lot smaller than a cow hide. A cow hide, usually you can buy either a whole hide or a half a hide. And the cow hide is going to run you about 40 square feet in a whole hide, and a lamb hide is going to give you 8 to 10 square feet. So there's a big difference in the sizes. Okay, there's a big difference in the prices to go with that too. So keep that in mind. So you want to go with 3.8 ounces or less, and then decide what kind of square footage that you're going to need for your project, and then I'll tell you what size hide that you need to get. Okay, we're going to focus on the garment grade leather today because I think that's the best place to start when you're first starting out with quilting with the leather. And with the garment grade itself, you can, once you decide you're going to do garment grade, you can get different finishes on it. Okay, you can get real shiny finishes. Okay, which is really going to show up your quilting. But you can also get flat finish on it. So depending on what you want your feel of your project to be that you're working on. And also, if you're going to add dyes or paints or things like that after your quilting, the flat finish that doesn't have a varnish on the top is going to be the way to go. And because there's no resistance for the dyes on these, whereas there's resistance for the dyes in coloring on this, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to to take the paints if that's what you're going to do. But these shiny finishes work great for whole cloths or appliques or anything like that. One thing too is you want to make sure that you get the quality. I've seen garment grades out there that are colored like this. You want to make sure that when you're picking a colored leather, that you see the same color on the back as you do on the front. Because I've seen some out there that the color is actually a top coating on the leather itself, and so when you turn it over, you still got the raw leather on the back. And so what's going to happen is as soon as you quilt through that, you're going to see that raw leather on the back showing through those quilting holes. So good quality leather is going to have the same color on the front as it does on the back. So, and also the other thing that you've got to be aware of when you start working with hides is that you're going to get blemishes. They're just going to happen. That's just going to happen. You're going to wind up with holes in your hides like this, as well as you're going to wind up with some branding marks. Now, I personally love using branding marks in my pieces. And so if I have a hide, that's a gorgeous hide that has a nice, pretty brand on it, I will actually put that in the background of my piece because I think it adds a lot of character and a lot of interest in the background without having to do a lot of work with it. And not worry about, if you have a hole like this, what I do is that I just cut a little piece of the hide off the edge and glue it right underneath so it covers up that hole, and I quilt it just as I would without the hole being there. So the little blemishes, if you can work around them, and highlight them and use them to your benefit in the piece that you're working on. Now, you can also go, which this kind of freaks people out sometimes, is that you can go to the exotic hides. Now this particular one right here is just a lamb skin that has been embossed to look like lizard, which I think can be a really cool piece to use. You can also go with this is a rattlesnake, and you can get rattlesnake skins. You get the whole skin. Sometimes they have the rattles on them, sometimes they don't. Depends on where you're buying them from, because the rattles is what really is real expensive. So a lot of times the harvesters were out there, the wranglers, I guess, they'll actually cut the rattles off, sell those separately. And you can also do python. Now this is a python right here. And you can imagine when I got my first python skin, that it was 25 feet long, and it varied in width from 8 inches on one end, on the ends, to about 22 inches in the middle. So you can imagine how big that is. But I just love it. It works great for inlays and appliques. Now, if you don't want to go with the real thing, because it can be kind of expensive, you can go with the embossed. This is a cowhide that has been embossed to look like snake skin. Now, what you have to be aware of when you're getting something like this is that there's going to be a repeat pattern with the coating that's on here. So if you're going to use it on a larger piece, you're going to be able to see that repeat pattern. So just use it with care, and you can get away with using the fake stuff just as well as you can the real stuff. The other thing you can do is either get all alligator skins. And what's really cool about these is they come in all different types of colors. So, and then you can actually further enhance them by adding paint on top of these. So these are great fun to work with. And last but not least, I use a lot of hair-on hides. And I use these for applique pieces, I use them for inlay pieces, and I also use them for my bindings. And what you have to do here is that you're buying an actual, it's used for a cowhide rug is what you're buying. And when I get mine from Tandy Leather, when they have them on sale, I'll go to Tandy Leather and I'll pull out all the hides they have, lay them on the floor so I can see what colors that I want to be working with, and those are the ones that I buy, bring them home, cut them up. Now, of course, they about flipped out the first time I told them I was taking the hide home to cut them up. But it looks really cool. It has a lot of interest to it. Now, you have to remember when you're cutting these up that you are cutting hair, so you're going to wind up with a mess. So keep that in mind. You're going to have little hairs everywhere. But it's a lot of fun to work with. Now, with all of this information, you're thinking, oh my gosh, if I want to start, what do I do? What you can do, one of the things that you can do is that you can actually go to a thrift shop and buy yourself a garment, a leather garment, cut it up and test it out testing your skills out using that. If you feel a little bit more adventurous, this is what you do. I love this place. This is Hide House. There we go. Hidehouse.com. They're at Napa Valley, California. And they offer a whole wide range of cow hides and all kinds of hides, actually, not just cow. But this is the key. This is what you want to find. Plunge, okay? This is what you want to start with. Other people have it. McPherson's has it. The Leather Guy has them. There's other outsources for this particular brand, for this type of leather. But this is going to give you a great starting point. And that is exactly what all of these colors are. And you see it's nice weight to stick with, to get started with, so you don't have to worry about your machine getting messed up or changing needles or anything like that. But this is a great thing. And what's really cool about Hide House is they sell these color cards for all the hides they have, so you can buy the color cards. And it has a piece of the hide here, so you can actually feel the thickness of that hide. And then it has all the color options for. So if you're thinking about getting into this, this is a great investment to get these little color cards. But again, hidehouse.com, and then you want to look for the plunge. It comes in half cow hides. You can get some in the whole hides if you need a big piece, but you also can get lamb. So if you just want to get a little part, a little piece just to test it out, get yourself a lamb hide. Comes in, it may even come in more colors than this. This is the cow hide one. And so that would be a great place for you to start. Okay, if you have any additional questions on leather, just leave them in the comments of the video, and I'll try to address them as soon as I can. Thanks.